VisualPony the narrator. Reading for you since 2013.
The Lunar Cypher, Chapter 4. Celebrating a Job Half Done.
Twilight, are you in pain?
Luna looked down at me with concern.
You were moaning. Nightmare!
I gasped, gathering my wits and sitting up on the bed.
Forgive me. I had not realized you had fallen asleep, or I would have warded your dreams.
I shook my head.
No, I mean the nightmare.
Luna stiffened with surprise and alarm at that.
What did she say? What did she do to you?
Yeah, well, I certainly wasn't going into details about that.
I think she was trying to tempt me, I guess. It wasn't a very long dream.
Luna's eyes narrowed and her nose wrinkled with the beginning of a snarl. She took my head between her hoofs and leaned close.
Twilight, you cannot trust anything she says. Whatever she promises, it is a lie. Anything she offers is but a trick to deceive you and further her own scheming. I know that.
Luna was so close I could smell her scent. It was like moonflower and evening primrose blossoms with something warm and strong and wonderful layered beneath. I stared into her eyes and my heart began to race. What was wrong with me? Luna sensed my distress, if not the reason for it, and pulled me into a hug. It might ordinarily have given me comfort. As it was, I clung to her with a desperate embrace that was half driven by panic.
I will not let her harm thee,
Luna said quietly.
I will guard thy dreams. I shall be there by thy side and anon to keep thee safe.
I have absolutely no excuse for what I did then. Yes, I was exhausted, hurting both physically and emotionally, and certainly not thinking clearly, but she was the divine majesty of the night, immortal Diarch of Equestria. There are lines that must never be crossed. How did I even dare to? I pressed my muzzle against the base of her neck and drew in more of her exotic fragrance. I held the hug longer, much longer than was appropriate. I clung to her with a desperate need for what? What in Equestria was I doing? I felt Luna briefly stiffen against me, but before I could release her and stammer out some confused apology, she tightened her own grip on me and lowered her head to touch the crest of my neck with her lips. I couldn't move. I couldn't breathe. She began gently touching and pulling with her lips. I relaxed a bit and she began using her teeth on me. Touch, squeeze, and tug. Ever so gently, she groomed me like a mother would a foal. I practically melted into her embrace. Her ethereal mane flowed across my face and streamed down, wrapping around my shoulder and side. Her magic joined her mouth on me and I felt the smooth, loving pressure down my back and out along my wings, setting everything to rights, making everything alright. The last thing I remember before slipping into a deep and peaceful slumber was stroking her side and murmuring something foolish into the hollow of her throat. I awoke to a polite but firm rap on my cabin door.
Your Highness?
Luna was beside me on the bed, lifting her wing from my back. She stepped onto the deck and stood there, waiting for me to answer.
Yes?
I called out as I scooted over and got to my hoofs.
The captain asked me to inform you that we are less than half an hour out from Ponyville. One of your royal guard has come aboard with messages.
Thank you. Tell the captain I shall be out in a moment.
I must have slept nearly 12 hours.
Yes, Highness.
I turned to Luna. Her expression was indecipherable.
I
cleared my throat and began again.
I suppose we should.
She reached out with a wingtip and stroked my cheek.
You will do fine, Twilight. I will help you in any way I can. The confusion and disorder that comes with war is not confined to battle, but you will master it, I'm certain.
I didn't understand. Was she talking about... Was she giving me a way to save face? An excuse for my behavior? Oh, stars and moon, it was a gentle, subtle way to put me in my place, wasn't it? I felt a flush of shame wash over me and I turned to the door.
Yes, of course,
I said with a little too much force.
I'll be fine.
I opened the door to my cabin and walked out.
I should return to Canterlot, Luna said hesitantly from behind me. But I will rejoin you as soon as possible.
I nodded and kept walking. Luna was no longer behind me when I reached the bridge. The messenger bowed as I approached and then pulled a scroll from his satchel and held it out to me.
There are others, but I believe you should read this one first, Your Highness.
I took it and broke the royal seal, and nearly wept with relief.
My dearest Twilight, Rainbow Dash is going to be fine.
It took a moment to get myself under control and read the rest of the letter.
She is already feeling well enough to complain about the food and the enforced inactivity. She and the rest of your ponies are receiving the best medical and magical care I can command, and most of them should be out of the hospital in a few days. I am so sorry you had to face such a trial with only a few soldiers to aid you, and I will have words with Luna about suggesting such a reckless course of action. I will ready forces to assist you in completing the task at Hoof. A week should be sufficient time to prepare, and then we will put an end to this threat together. Sincerely, Celestia.
I read it over again just to make sure I wasn't mistaken. Celestia seemed to think that Luna had suggested the expedition. I had put together the troops based on the reports of the numbers and type of monsters and what I knew of their capabilities. I'd only asked Celestia for advice. And she'd sent me Luna. Or that's what Luna had told me at any rate. Standing there frowning wasn't going to get me any answers, so I mentally filed it under "What the hey is going on here?" and read the rest of the messages. One was a reply from the Canterlot yards confirming the shipment of the engine parts for Even Star. One was a report from my seneschal. And one exploded in my face. Confetti, mini streamers and glitter went everywhere.
You are invited! The super duper wee mashed monster party will take place in the Great Meadow at Ponyville Castle just as soon as you get your royal rump down here.
No need for a signature on that one.
Your Highness?
The helm's pony said as he brushed confetti off of the compass housing.
There seems to be a disturbance at the castle.
We had swung around into the wind for our final approach, and as we lined up with the castle I could see what the helm's pony was referring to. Not only were the fields surrounding its base filled with ponies, banners, bunting, pavilions, balloons and flags, but the party had spilled over into the approaches and side streets of Ponyville proper. There even seemed to be a tuba and kazoo bandstand on the Great Western balcony. Well, maybe a party was just what I needed to take my mind off of things. I turned to the captain.
Captain Zephyr, as soon as Even Star is moored and secured, you may release your ponies to join in the celebration if they wish. I'll report back to Canterlot. I want to meet with you and the other captains tomorrow tomorrow, an hour afternoon for an, after-action report. Is that the correct term?
Yes, Your Highness.
He nodded.
Right. I imagine it will also be a good time to talk strategy for our next move, but until then, you and the rest of the crew are free to do whatever you wish.
I walked to the starboard hatch and flipped the brass levers that unlocked and opened it.
You've certainly earned some time to relax,
I said over my shoulder just before I leaped into the sky.
No, it's fine, Pinky,
I assured her, combing the last of the frosting out of my mane.
But next time you give some pony a 21 cupcake salute, maybe you shouldn't aim the pastry cannons directly at them.
Sorry, Twilight.
Well, at least it was some key lime cupcakes.
Applejack chuckled.
She didn't waste any of the good apple ones.
Hey, I like key lime,
I said.
And that's why I shot some at you.
I had nothing to say to that, so I just smiled. Pinky logic was comfort nonsense, and being spattered with high-velocity baked goods was actually a return to normalcy for me. Fluttershy was predictably absent from the wild festivities. She had remained in Canterlot with Rainbow Dash, but had sent a note with Rarity. Evidently, to keep Rainbow Dash from chewing through the hospital wall in an escape attempt, Fluttershy was by her bedside, reading the Daring Do novels to her. There were a few comments about how awfully Daring had treated those poor kitty cats and asking why she didn't try talking with them first. I assumed that Fluttershy meant Ahizotl's tigers and panthers. I had to tell the rest of the girls and Spike the story of the battle, of course. It wasn't too hard now that I knew that my wounded ponies were on the mend. I tried to keep it as non-gruesome as possible, but Pinky and Applejack seemed to revel in the detail, with Pinky making monster squashing noises for accompaniment. Even Rarity, though she made grimaces of disgust, hung on my every word. Spike kept saying things like cool and awesome, but he didn't actually sound like he was enjoying the story all that much. Rarity gave the wound on my shoulder an evaluating look.
I think the scar makes you look very dashing,
she said.
like some warrior princess out of an old legend.
That gave me pause. I was kind of hoping my injury wouldn't leave a scar. And a warrior princess? That was the last flavor of royalty I wanted to be. I was a princess of friendship, not the princess of chopping things up with swords.
I just did what I had to do. You girls of all ponies should understand that. Of course, darling, but that doesn't mean one can't look fabulous while doing it. Now tell me, what did your armor look like? Did it have a Grenier Ox flambeau?
It turned out that Rarity had a freaky knowledge of fashions and armors through the ages. I didn't even know half the terms she was tossing around. Pinky had some suggestions on how to incorporate pastry-based weaponry into an armored saddle, and even Applejack allowed as how a suit of barding would be a handy thing to have while making deliveries to some of her more isolated customers.
Just a plain old one, do you understand?
She clarified.
Nothing fancy schmancy.
Just wait until you spend a day in a suit like that. You might change your mind.
I told her.
My wings still ache from just carrying that stuff for a few hours.
Applejack waved aside my objection to her plan.
Oh, nothing like practice to toughen you up. I might be a bit footsore if I was that suit while doing chores for a week, but after that, I'd scarce notice it.
That was actually a very good point. If I was going back into a battle a week or so from then, it would be wise to be better prepared. I made a mental note to retrieve my armor from Even Star and keep to a training regime every day until we set out for the desert again. I mingled with the crowd, telling the story of the battle several more times and receiving congratulations I still felt I hadn't really earned. I think that Spike, my secretary Periwinkle, and others of my personal staff were running interference for me, because I never once got cornered by an official with matters to attend to. But just as I was starting to feel a bit tired, Pinkie Pie appeared at my side and insisted that I had a royal duty to perform. Hoping that her pronunciation was an error rather than an omen, I followed her towards the base of the castle. What I found there was a royal box set beneath a spread of glittering branches with a big sunshade and a huge pile of purple cushions. On the raised platform, 2 low tables flanked the seating area and were loaded with drinks and snacks.
There you go, Twilight.
Pinkie said, pointing to the cushions.
It's your royal duty to chillax and take a load off.
Have I mentioned how much I love Pinkie Pie? I settled in on the cushions and selected a cold mint tea and some cinnamon twists. Several friends and acquaintances dropped by to chat in ones and twos. It was a perfect way to celebrate and relax at the same time. Pinkie Pie is a genius. A twisted genius, but still. Spike played at being my attendant for a while, but then got bored and went off to do more exciting things. But before he went, he rested his claw lightly on my cut shoulder and said the sweetest thing.
Rarity's right, it is cool, but don't get any more, okay?
Later in the afternoon, a familiar blue face appeared out of the crowd.
Heya, Twilight!
Jigsaw called out to me.
Jigsaw, I haven't seen you in ages. What are you doing in town? I took the train down from Canterlot for the day. I wasn't going to miss your victory party. Come on up here. Hey, should I call you Dr. Jigsaw now?
She trotted up the steps, tossed me a sloppy little bow, and then settled down on the cushions next to me.
I only insist on the doctor from grad students, Princess Twy. By the way, the lot at Crinnet College are getting pretty lazy. When are you going to drop by for another seminar? That should put some fire under their tails. Oh, let's see.
I teleported a schedule book from my room and flipped through it, pretending to read the entries.
Save the world, open the Royal Garden Show, save the world. Maybe sometime next spring?
Jigsaw laughed at me and then became more serious.
But you really did it again, didn't you? The same thing we faced in the cave, but more of them.
She gave a quick shake of her neck, sending her short golden mane flaunching.
It wasn't just me. I had a lot more help this time. Some very brave ponies got hurt defending Equestria from those things.
Jigsaw flicked a hoof in the direction of my scar.
Doesn't look like it was a stroll in the park for you either.
So I told her about it.
Wow, not exactly what I'd call a grand adventure. Don't take this the wrong way, Twy, but I'm glad I wasn't there this time.
She tapped the hoof thoughtfully on her chin for a moment before continuing.
But Sassy probably would have loved it. That mare is crazy. How's she doing? Are you two still... Oh yeah, both happy as a cockatrice in a rock garden. She's working for university security now. Lives for frat parties. What?
Jigsaw snickered.
Drunken hoofball players. She settled their hash in very short order. Never once has had to use her horn. Not that she wants to.
Okay.
Well, it's nice that she enjoys her work. And the best part is that when she gets home after sorting out a half-dozen louds, she's a wild mare. Really twitchy practically. Got it, thank you. No need to go into details. No?
Jigsaw sounded very disappointed.
But attention to details is one of her specialties.
Yes, there I was, monarch of all I surveyed. One, being teased by a libidinous archaeology professor. Celestia was right. The world is basically unfair. 1. I was facing the castle and couldn't see anything else at the moment.
So, how's the weather in Canterlot?
Jigsaw laughed.
Still Princess Innocent, huh? Or maybe you found some pony more your speed? What? Oh, I just heard that maybe you had a special pony of your own. And maybe you aren't as straight as you led me to believe, you naughty girl.
She gently booped me on the nose.
Hurt? Hurt from whom? What did they say?
Jigsaw was taken aback by my sudden intensity.
It was...
She swung a hoof out at the crowd filling the plaza.
Just some ponies, I didn't know them.
I squeezed my eyes shut and took a deep breath to calm myself. I seem to be doing that distressingly often lately.
What did they say? Festering road apples, Twilight. I didn't mean to upset you. It's just some stupid gossip, if it's not true. Please, Jigsaw, I'm not upset at you. Just tell me what you heard, please. Well, they said that you and Princess Luna were sharing a bedroom on your blimp. Something about, noises coming from inside, like, stuff.
Stuff. Oh, bleeding sun and moon. Stuff. I'd never be able to face Luna again. I don't know how I'd be able to face any pony again. I looked out over the huge crowd again and realized that with how fast rumors traveled.
Gotta go, Jigsaw. See you later.
She was still drawing in breath for a reply when I winked out. I had to turn away several ponies who had knocked at my bedroom door until I finally hung a sign on it. The princess is indisposed. After that, I had been left alone with my thoughts. My recursive, painful thoughts. The last set had begun with me wondering if I could banish myself and was cycling back to considering a permanent shape change into a small woodland creature and moving in with Fluttershy when the sun set with an unusual abruptness. Moonrise was later than it should have been by almost a minute, and it lifted into the sky with a similar suddenness. I watched it all in a sort of stunned immobility from my bedroom's balcony. I guessed that I wasn't the only upset princess in the realm that day. Had Luna and Celestia heard the rumors too? I groaned and lay my forehead on the railing of the balcony.
What does indisposed mean? Ah! Oh, sorry, Twilight. I didn't mean to scare you, but your door was locked and there was a sign on it that I didn't understand, so I thought I'd ask you about it and maybe see why you left the party, which is still going pretty good. And oh, hey, there's going to be a lantern parade after dinner with these ponies who do fire twirling, and it's going to be super.
Pinkie Pie was dangling by her front hoofs from the railing 100 yards above the ground. I lifted her up onto the balcony.
Pinkie, what are you doing?
Well, like I said, your door was locked and there was a sign on it.
I put a hoof over her mouth and began to rebuke, but she pulled my hoof down and said softly,
And I saw you up here and you looked kinda sad. You shouldn't be sad, Twilight.
I tried to say something, but my throat tightened up. Pinkie took my hoofs in hers and waited patiently for me to compose myself.
Pinkie, there's a rumor going around about Luna and me.
I had to pause again.
It's embarrassing and...
Wait a minute.
Pinkie Pie said with a puzzled frown.
You're embarrassed for ponies to know that you and Luna were being snuggle bunnies?
So she'd heard it. Of course Pinkie Pie had heard it. I let out a half-strangled sob.
No, I wouldn't be. At least I don't think I would be if it were true.
Huh?
She cocked her head to one side.
So, you don't like Luna?
I do, I really do, but she's...
I just couldn't stop the tears and Pinkie pulled me into a hug until I got control of myself. Then she pulled out a handkerchief and gave me a moment to wipe my eyes and nose.
So you're sweet on Princess Luna, what's wrong with that?
But I'm not gay. I'm attracted to stallions.
So, why can't you like stallions and mares?
That floored me. What? But I've never looked at a mare that way before. I mean, why now?
Pinkie Pie put a thoughtful hoof tip to her lips.
I think I know what might help.
Really?
Yabberoni! And I don't know if I'm gay or not party. We'll invite a bunch of really cute mares and Rarity can lend them their smoochiest outfits and you can...
No, not going to happen.
Well, if you say so, it would be really hard to get the right sort of bunting for it anyway.
It doesn't even matter if I'm gay or not. It's Luna that I keep thinking about, and putting aside for a moment that she's the immortal goddess of the flipping moon, she's just not interested.
Really? She actually said that?
Pinkie scowled.
Yes, she...
I paused.
Well, no, she didn't exactly say that, but it was perfectly clear.
Oh, she wrote you a note?
No, she said I was confused, I guess.
I think she was right about that.
Pinkie put her hoofs on her lips.
You need to ask her, Twilight. A comedy of errors isn't funny when it makes Pony sad.
But...
Comedy.
Pinkie said, drawing an outline in the air with her hoofs that was roughly pumpkin-shaped.
Expert.
She finished, tapping her own chest firmly. Hard to argue with that. And I didn't think it could possibly be any more embarrassing to me than what had already occurred.
Okay, you're right, Pinkie. I will ask her, but would now be a good time?
Luna asked from behind me.
Ah!
Author's note. Thanks to my editors Academic Pony, Mac is Best 859, Jojito, and Status. Feedback is almost as useful when it tells you you've done something right as when it says, delete that whole second part, it stinks. Almost.